Hi everyone, welcome to my sewing room. I've been working on a quilt, appliquing a long curving vine, and I thought today I'd quickly show you how to make those vines curve. Here's a quilt I made a while back where the vine and the leaves are kind of the main star there. I took the white panels camping and on trips. They were really easy to carry around, and I appliqued the vine, and then I had a bunch of scraps that I would just put leaves, different sized leaves on the white panel, and then when I was done with 4 panels I put them together and made a quilt. And here's another quilt using a curving vine that I made with an art quilt group. So I have my busy fabric here, and I'm going to show you how easy it is to make a vine curve. The key is to cut it on the bias. So this is the way you normally have your fabric folded when you're cutting strips of fabric. You have the selvages together. So to make it bias, you fold on the diagonal, putting a bias and a raw edge together. And put that fold on one of the lines on your cutting mat there. And I'm going to take my ruler, and you'll see the longest piece you can get would be from the corner to corner down there. I'm going to cut right here today, making my vine a little bit shorter, and I'm going to cut 1 1/4 inch strip to make about a 1/2 inch wide vine. This 1 1/4 inch will turn out to be a vine that's about a 1/2 inch. And I'll cut 2 strips just to show you that it's very easy to join these strips together to make it the length that you want. Okay, let's sit down at the sewing machine. And if you're wanting a long vine, now is the right time to join these together. You can see how they kind of fit like a puzzle right there. I'm going to cut off the selvage so I don't have that in there. That's a little bit thicker typically, so we don't want that in there. It's going to be thick enough. Put the right sides together with a little tail on each side, and using your smaller stitch, your number 2 on my machine, I'm going to put those 2 together and open the seam so it's not too bulky. Alright, now I'm going to make my stitch really big, as big as I can, because we're going to baste this. I'm going to fold both raw edges in, set it under my machine here, and start sewing this vine together. I fold one edge on top of the other, trying to get both edges in that seam there. I fold as I go. Fold a little bit and then sew a little bit more. Okay. I'm going to stop right there. I'm done basting my vine, and now I'm going to get the fabric that I'm going to applique on. Here it is. Starting on one edge, I'm going to lay the raw edges down, hide them underneath, and I'm going to start pinning. You may be using a pattern, or you might be just doing this on your own. So I usually just let it curve. I'm not usually following a pattern. But it'll curve any way you want it to curve. If you go to the ironing board, you can also curve and press as you go onto your backing there. Alright, now the next step is you're going to applique. You can either do it by hand using a tiny stitch, which really doesn't take that long, or you can sit down at your machine and do a stitch along both edges of this. Let's see if we can. I usually start at the bottom right here. Right along the edge, you can sew. Okay, you got the idea. The last thing you want to do is, I have one all done right here. I already appliqued it on my machine. The last thing to do is, you do not want that ugly basting stitch there in the middle. You want to remove that. So I have some scissors here. And I just make a little cut here and there along that basting stitch. And then I'm going to try to just pull that one piece out. It's usually pretty easy. So remove the basting stitch and you'll have a nice appliqued vine. Thank you for joining me in my sewing room today.